Do you want to make your own manga but feel clueless where to start? Maybe you've already attempted to get started but never even got close to finishing.
Not to worry, kid!
You're in the right place because in this video, we're going to teach you how you can get started on your manga journey with zero experience. If you follow the steps we're about to share with you, then you're finally going to have your own finished manga in the next 3 to 6 months, or maybe even sooner.
Think you're up to it?
Yeah, sure I am.
Make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications so you can get updated on our latest manga tips and tutorials. In case you have a friend online or in real life who's also a beginner at drawing manga, then please tell them about our channel. Let's spread the word, the love, and the knowledge to our fellow aspiring mangakas so we can create kick-ass stories together that can touch more people. Now, let's dive into the 5 steps you need to take to create your very first manga with zero experience. Step 1. Manage your expectations. I know we all dream of creating the next Dragon Ball, Naruto, or Demon Slayer, but I have to be honest, it's not gonna happen in the next 3, 6, or even 12 months. It's simply impossible to get to that level of awesomeness in such a short amount of time. The problem with a lot of beginners is that they expect to create a masterpiece on their first try, and then they feel disappointed because it didn't turn out how they imagined. You can't just skip levels and expect to be good. I mean, you can't defeat the final boss without leveling up and fighting all the lower tier enemies first, right? It's the exact same thing with your manga. There's a build-up. You start with something easier and simpler first, and then you slowly get into the more complicated stuff as you gain more experience and you get better and better. So, before we go any further, let's set your expectations right. If you follow our instructions, you will be able to finish your first manga. But it's not gonna be perfect. It may not even be good and might be pretty cringy. But you will get invaluable experience and you can use that to gauge what aspects of the manga creation process you actually enjoy, what you're good at, and which parts you need more help on. So, let go of the pressure to make your manga perfect and amazing. Just take the plunge and go for it. If you followed our channel, you know that we highly discourage beginners from working on long, complicated stories. Usually, they end up never getting finished. You end up wanting to change or rewrite the story before you're even done.
I'm trying my best to fix things, but it gets uglier every time I touch it. This is a pickle.
Or you get totally distracted and start another project, putting your first story aside to gather dust for the next few years or even decades. A few years ago, I followed a creator who suddenly started a new project before finishing an ongoing one. Her fans were not exactly ecstatic, including me. Updates were already slow, and now the creator's attention was going to be divided with this new story. I ended up dropping the title, and so did a lot of our fans. It just never really ends well. As we've talked about before, a more realistic number is 16 to 20 pages. You can join most manga contests with this number, and you're more likely to create a proper story with an actual beginning, middle, and end. But if you've tried to create a 16-page manga after months of following us and you still haven't gotten anywhere close, you can start with something even shorter. You can do 8 pages, 4 pages, or even 1 single page. For reference, you can check out this short manga series called Go For It Nakamura-kun. It's only 1 volume and each chapter is only 7 to 8 pages long. You can consider each chapter as different standalone episodes in the same universe. You can also check out some of these award-winning manga submissions from the Silent Manga edition. The contest requires submissions to be at least 8 pages long. After you've read these examples, take a moment to analyze the stories. Even though they're short, they don't feel rushed. You get a feeling of completion, and those 8 pages are enough to make you laugh or feel emotional. That's a sign of a great storyteller. If you want to make sure you can really finish your manga, try doing a 1-page yonkoma. Yonkoma manga have 4 panels of the same size stacked vertically on top of each other and are read from top to bottom. The plot in yonkoma manga typically follows the traditional Japanese storytelling structure: ki, sho, ten, getsu. The introduction, development, twist, and conclusion. Take this example from Azumanga Daioh, a Yonkoma comedy manga series. In the first panel, we're introduced to Kurosawa sensei teaching swimming lessons. In the second, we see high school students Chiyo and Kagura jumping and cheering in the pool. In the third panel, we see that Chiyo is actually way shorter than Kagura, so the pool is way too deep for her. In the last panel, Chiyo starts to drown. Most yonkoma are all about jokes and humor, which is why they're also called gag manga. This format is the perfect way to deliver a short but complete joke or story in just a few panels. And it's great for honing your storytelling skills as a beginner. Why don't you try it out? I bet you can come up with something clever and witty today. If you're having problems thinking about what to draw, you can easily find inspiration from your daily life. Our pro mangaka mentors, Renasaya and now Yazawa, have worked with hundreds of beginner mangakas during their experience teaching at manga schools in Japan. They encourage their students to practice by illustrating their daily life events as a manga. We ask our students in our one-shot manga drawing program to do the same activity for practice. And you know what happened? Some people felt challenged.
But my life is so boring. I have nothing interesting to draw.
You might be thinking the same thing too. The beauty of manga is that you have creative freedom. You can exaggerate scenes, put a bit of a spin on what actually happened, mix reality and imagination, you know. Here's an example from our student Garrett called Meet the Writer. Here's the premise. What if his OC, Zoe Bakersfield, actually met him, the writer? Garrett uses the first panel to establish the scene of him writing his story. And in the second panel, he creates a bit of a mystery as to who this unexpected visitor is. The third panel literally packs quite the punch, with a lot of movement and drama. As a reader, you're like,
What the heck just happened? Who punched him? Who's out for this guy's blood?
in the last two panels, it's revealed that it was his OC, Zoe, taking out her anger on him for killing off her dad in the story. What a way to make your daily life seem more interesting, huh? Here's another example from our student Tracy called ATM. She starts off her first panel with a very dramatic line. So, this is it, huh? It grabs your attention right away. And as a reader, you're like,
What's this? Is this a breakup? Is this the end of the line for something big?
and then you see in the next panel that she's actually standing in front of an ATM machine. She already has 2 invalid attempts at getting her pin right, and now she's down to her very last chance. This is it. Tap, tap, tap. Enter. And it's blocked. Tracy's comment? It's always that one card you barely use. This stressful and anxiety-inducing situation can happen to any of us. Tracy was able to present it in such an interesting and compelling way that you just feel for the character by the last panel. As a mangaka, it's part of your job to make your stories gripping and exciting. A lot of creators take inspiration from their own personal experiences or hobbies and from other stories that they read. You gotta learn to take boring, mundane stuff and present it in a way that people don't want to stop reading. Overall, shonen manga is the most popular genre. A lot of these big titles we all know and love take place in fictional worlds. The characters also usually have special abilities that just don't exist in real life. So many beginner mangakas are influenced by these epic stories, and their manga ideas are filled with so many fantastical elements. The story becomes too complicated because there's just so much to explain about this whole new world you came up with, about all these cool superpowers. No wonder it's hard to contain your story in just 16 pages or less. Our mentor, Rena Sensei, actually taught us a trick to this. If you really want fantastical elements in your story, insert them in an everyday setting. Like, for example, an alien suddenly appears out of nowhere and now your MCs have to take care of them. Or a goddess falls from the sky and now this average Joe gets a shot to date her. This genre is called everyday magic in Japan. It's classified as a type of low fantasy story. One of the most famous everyday magic manga is Fujiko Fujio's Doraemon. Nobita Nobi is a 10-year-old Japanese boy who's kind-hearted and honest, but also lazy, unlucky, weak, bad at studying and sports. One day, a robot cat from the 22nd century named Doraemon appears in Nobita's life. Doraemon was actually sent back to the past by Nobita's future grandchild, Sewashi Nobi. Sewashi wanted Doraemon to take care of Nobita so that he and his descendants can have a better life. This everyday magic subgenre actually paved the way to the more mainstream magical girl subgenre. Think about it. Sailor Moon, Cardcaptor Sakura, Wedding Peach, all the main characters are just regular girls living in Japan who suddenly get special powers. The beauty about everyday magic stories is that you don't have to explain the settings. The readers get it. It's set in the real world. No need for such long explanations. You can highlight what happens to your character right away. As we've mentioned in our previous videos, copying is a great way to practice, learn, and understand how great artists and mangakas before you think and create artworks. If you find yourself struggling with how to compose a scene or draw a certain panel, look at some of your favorite manga and study how the pros do it. Our pro mangaka mentor, Nao Yazawa, shared in one of our interviews that her first ever manga was actually a total copy of another manga. She was only about 14 years old at that time and had no clue about scripting, storyboarding, paneling, and all these skills you need to make great manga. She copied everything panel to panel. Though she didn't completely understand the logic behind all of it, she was able to build a bit of muscle memory and actually practice creating manga. If you're not getting any money out of your work, then it's totally fine to copy for your own practice. You don't have to copy everything like Yazawa sensei. You can just pick certain scenes or panels that you like and then find a way to incorporate that in your own work. For example, we showed you Garrett's one-page manga earlier. He actually used a reference from a published manga for the impact scene. Here's another study from our student Courtney. She used a panel from Blue Lock chapter 196 as a reference. You can even draw over the original artworks to get the lines, forms, and movement more accurately. Here's a sample from our student Carl. He mapped out the forms and movement in the original artwork and then translated that into his own drawing. Now that you have all these tips, your mission for your first manga is to finish it. Even if you're not completely happy with the story or the art. Even if you're tempted to change a bajillion things halfway through. Even if you're drawn to another more exciting story idea. Focus. See it until the end. Learn from your mistakes and take it like a champ. After you've realized what you need to improve on, practice, practice, practice. You realize you don't know how to draw fight scenes? Then do studies. Don't know how to write a good story? Take a writing class. Polish your skills. And then go make a new manga. Your second one will definitely be better than your first. If you want to accelerate your manga journey with the help of actual pro mangakas, sign up to the waitlist for our one-shot manga drawing program. You'll get more in-depth tutorials and personalized feedback on your manga. Plus, you'll be with a supportive community of fellow aspiring mangakas who are in this journey with you. The link to sign up is in the description. In the meantime, you can learn more about storyboarding your first manga in this video.